You're still with us. For those that went with us in the break after that very interesting press preview, I still insist get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor so you can get up to speed with what's happening at the financial behemoth, the National Social Security Fund. There is a 3-page report that is detailing the journey to Kapeka and exactly what was discussed and how things are turning out. However, for now, allow me to take you into a Kickstarter discussion, a Parliament's decision on omnibus bills. We shall be understanding what these are and exactly what implications we have to grapple with when we deal with too many omnibus bills. Just a preamble, Parliament on Tuesday, through the Speaker, the Right Honourable Anita Among, cited a consideration on all the accumulated Auditor General's reports to be approved without the scrutiny of accountability committees. In this ruling, it would offset the backlog to pave way for fresh accountability reports to come through, but so that as a threat to loss of public funds without holding those responsible accountable. Lawyer John Solomon Nabiyanda will be helping us understand the legal and constitutional dynamics, but of course there is a man who is within the corridors of Parliament and pretty much understands what's going on. Christopher Komakech, the MP for Aru South County, will also be joining us. Before I bring them on board, let me first bring you up to speed with a story that NTV ran that should be able to set the pace for us.
In the 10th Parliament, a motion moved by the Budadiri West Member of Parliament, Nandala Mafabi, was adopted for the House to consider audit reports without the scrutiny of the accountability committees. The reasoning behind the move was the inability by the committees to consider the accumulated Auditor General's reports. Now this will be repeated as announced by the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, as the House resumed business from recess.
Asking for an omnibus adoption of reports, because we had run out of time and we needed to complete the accountability cycle. And that's what we are going to do to those reports that are not considered at committee level.
Among indicated that it would not be feasible for the committees to process the accumulated reports.
We are disappointed. Most of the reports have not been concluded. When you look at Park Kosase, they had 107 reports. 4 have been considered. 1 is going to be considered today. There is a balance of 103.
A member of the Committee on Commission, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises, Engineer Richard Sebamala, says less than 10 reports were deemed critical for handling out of over 100 reports the committee should have scrutinized.
So actually we are looking at ourselves as a committee that is actually working, having worked on 4 out of 7. However, when the Speaker brought it up, I managed to look up on some other issues, and I actually realized that even these other entities had very pertinent issues that needed to be looked at, and we are very bad on it. So the chairman of Kosase should pull up his socks now.
The MPs who spoke to NTV were concerned about this move.
It's just unfortunate that now the Auditor General's reports will be handled omnibus. That one ensures now the culprits in the qualified reports survive it. They will survive proper questioning, they will survive prosecution, they will survive everything. So that means that now they are having a field day.
It is important that we peruse through these reports and we recommend adequately, because we are going to be responsible for the outcome of the omnibus. Because it has happened many times, we find that our Auditor General has recommended something that is outrageous. It has happened before. So
the problem could be resources, but really as Parliament, and we are the people's representative, we cannot think that we are now doing our work as people's representative when we continue to handle things in an omnibus way like that. So for me, I wouldn't support that kind of position. There should be resources for committees of Parliament.
They suggested the need to devise measures to tackle the challenge of how to handle the many audit reports. One alternative is the splitting of committees into multiple subgroups to handle specific reports. Jackson Onyango, NTV at Parliament.
Many thanks, Jackson Onyango, for that report on Parliament and omnibus bills. Now, let me introduce my guests this morning who are going to help us understand the complexities around omnibus bills, the legalities, and, of course, the constitutional mandates that are therein. MP Christopher Komakech, representing Aru South County, welcome to the program. We're glad to see you again, and Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Also joining us is lawyer John Solomon Nabiyanda. Many thanks for joining us. Very first time on the show with me. I hope you were here before.
This is my very first
Your very first time.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
All right, I'll begin with the Honourable Member of Parliament for Aru South County. First, take us through what an omnibus bill is. What does it entail? Should we be afraid, especially when omnibus bills become frequent?
Chris, I would want to alleviate that about the omnibus bill.
Sure.
It isn't coming from Mars.
Yeah.
It has been in, and it has been in practice before. Now, omnibus bill is a bill that packages many other similar bills. And the interest is that we want many other similar bills to be passed as one vote. That's an omnibus bill.
Okay.
So mainly to be like, for this instance, you look at COSASI, PAC central government and PAC local government having all their reports into one report and voted on the floor of Parliament. Yeah, that is it. Bill. That's just it.
In other words, not very technical, but when you look at intentions, on the outside, as a journalist, I look at it as the bundling together of aspects that ought to be looked at independently as votes. Isn't it?
Chris, yeah, it's a bundling, but the result of it should aim at the positivity.
The positivity.
Yeah, not the mere bundling. Because I'll give an instance of a parent who is blessed with twins. Yeah, it's one-off expenditure, but with double results and two results achieving. So that's what an omnibus bill is all about.
I come from a point of scrutiny, especially when you look at the fact that Auditor General's reports are an annual ritual.
True.
When inability to scrutinize this particular bill, so that recommendations that are put forward by the Auditor General are undertaken by the respective government agencies, then it means when you put them together, marrying, as some legislators would love to say, journalists, we still maintain bundling, it creates a situation where something could be missed in terms of understanding what the Auditor General put forward in terms of information on any vices within governance, and that is the bone of contention. Allow me get the legal and constitutional aspects regarding omnibus bills and whether it's something that we should see frequently within our National Assembly.
Well, thank you so much. First and foremost, maybe I'll guide the discussion.
Sure.
Because by defining what a bill is, because a bill is understood as a piece of draft law that is being pushed into adoption as law.
As law.
So what is happening with the reports is not actually an omnibus bill. So because why I'm guiding the discussion is the unsuspecting members of society actually do not seek clarity. So they will actually jump off here and say, Senyonyi has failed to pass 107 laws.
That's right.
Which is absolutely not right. Therefore, what is happening is Parliament or the Speaker proposes to manage the reports that ought to be handled by the accountability committees, omnibus. The term omnibus, as my colleague here has explained it, is actually putting together more than one matter into one package to be managed. When you look at the Constitution, that's around Article 79, it establishes Parliament, and part of the functions of Parliament is one, legislation and accountability. And to cause accountability, there is what we call realization of these specific articles of the Constitution. And these are realized into the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, which establishes standing committees.
That's right. So
part of these standing committees, I think we have 3, if I'm not mistaken, established by the Rules of Procedure to actually cause accountability. And according to Article 163 of the Constitution, it is actually the mandate of the ministers and the Auditor General to actually submit reports on floor of Parliament, and these reports are later on referred to these committees through actually the clerks to these committees. So what happens is the term omnibus procedure is not anywhere alive in the Rules of Procedure. It is a practice or an act that is adopted by way of convention. I don't know if you're getting.
No, I didn't get that.
What I mean is the term omnibus procedure or managing of reports is not one that is alive or realized in the actually laws of Uganda. It is one that has been adopted by way of practice. A precedent being set by the former Right Honorable Speaker, Rebecca Litwala Kadaga. So simply the Speaker of Parliament is also trying to evoke this practice.
A precedent that has been set. Does the Constitution allow for a precedent to determine a culture?
Of course, first and foremost, it goes to looking at the functions of Parliament as an institution.
Okay.
If we are to proceed by way of omnibus, it is to undermine the functionality of Parliament as an institution. You've just been mentioning it here. It means part of the roles of Parliament to be practiced are to be actually closed an eye to. Because omnibus procedure is a crying evil that actually causes one confusion and destruction of the legislative mind of members of Parliament. Part of the issues that are raised in the Auditor General's reports are some that are supposed to be considered by the committees.
Independently as reports.
And those reports are later on produced on floor of Parliament. And these, my colleague here is supposed with his colleagues in Parliament
to review
to debate
them
on floor of Parliament. So it means we are going to undermine this debate. Therefore, constitutionally, we have compromised the function of Parliament to first and foremost cause accountability.
Honorable Komakech, I won't ask you a question. I just want you to respond to Mr. Naviyanda's submission.
What Councillor Naviyanda just said, it's true, but not the entirely truth of it all. And an omnibus bill, in this case, the Speaker wanted to propose a motion. It's actually going to be a motion that will be moved by a member. Such motion has ever been moved by Honorable Nandala Mafabi in the previous Parliament. And it was brought on. It's not in bad faith. It's not guilt. It's not covering members of Parliament or taking members of Parliament role. When you look at Article 163, clause 4 and 5, it says, let me start from clause 1. There will be an Auditor General. An Auditor General is appointed by the President. But an Auditor General is an officer of Parliament. It's only Parliament that proves the Auditor General's appointment. So without Parliament, the Auditor General has no what? Has no job. It's in the what? In the Supreme Law. But then when you look at the same Supreme Law, it says the Auditor General, 1, should have experience of 15 years. 2, should be a man with clean record. No forensic audits on him, and a trustworthy person. Now, in this case, who does the Auditor General pay allegiance to? He pays allegiance to Parliament. Meaning, when the Auditor General presents a report using the same article, the article does not show that the report should go to a committee. No, it's not anywhere in the article. Now, the committees are created in the rules of procedure of Parliament. In fact, we should applaud Parliament for coming up with a committee that scrutinizes the report. Now, the work of the committee is not, and I want to be gotten here clearly.
Please.
It's not to malign or abuse the work of the Auditor General, but to give a second thought. Should the Auditor General miss or any hiccups get noticed in the report, then Parliament, the committee can come and say, oh, well, I think with this. But when you look at most of the reports that the General has presented, none actually has been, none has been revoked by Parliament. Most of the recommendations are actually approved by the committee. Now, what the Speaker is doing is, we have lots of work.
Yes.
It's backlog.
I was just coming to that. The attempt or the intention to do away with the backlog often leads to a case of where some aspects that are critical to national debate are swept under the carpet. And this is the fear that causes a bit of mistrust when you begin to adopt the use, or when you take on omnibus bills. There's a lot that is going to be swept under the carpet, especially in a country that reviews a report as late as 6 years. You know, there are reports of the Auditor General, that revelations that come, and when you go to read a little bit further, you find that this is 3 years ago and it is being reviewed now. Now, a bill like this one means that perhaps things that should have been considered as early as 2018, especially in light of when COVID came and completely, you know, flipped everything, are going to be swept under the carpet.
That's not true, Chris. That is not true. This motion has a time frame. These reports have a time frame. Yeah. From the time the Auditor General presents a report to the Speaker of the floor of Parliament, the committee is given 6 months. 6 months. To have presented a report. It's a committee report and it's Parliament that adopts it. Now, I want you to get this. A committee members are members of Parliament.
Of course, no doubt about that.
True. Yeah. Now, it's until they present a report that the entire House adopts it, then it becomes a report. What did Parliament do? Parliament created committees to ease its work. But in the event that you have backlog of work, which backlog is not caused by lack of communication, inefficiency. Obviously, I'll tell you this. We have Honorable Jeremy Pendozi. He's a able member of Parliament, a chairperson. We have Honorable Segona. All these are he's a chairperson of Park Central. He's an able member. Honorable the Deputy Speaker of NOP, the name is off. Senyonyi, Honorable Senyonyi. He's an able member. So you wouldn't tell me that Parliament has not done its work. Parliament has, but the Speaker is saying, looking at the Speaker, I want you to look at the character of our Speaker, Right Honorable Ntamong. One, she's time conscious, she's fast and steady. Now, she's looking at the work that's going to be done. We are in a budget framework process. And she's looking at how can I save this time to execute.
We are blessed that John Solomon Nabuyanda is able to step out of this frame and look at this picture pretty well. The trust aspect when it comes to the conduct of legislation business for Parliament here is at stake. We see a Speaker of Parliament who sometimes seems like there is an agenda to why she wants things done in a certain way. And then the altercation, not altercation as such, but the back and forth between Senyonyi, especially on the floor, as we saw in the story, indicates that the MP has perhaps done his job at one point and then is being held back by aspects that are way beyond the ability of a committee to hand in a report as fast as it should, and then it gets scrutinized. Looking at it from the outside, as a legal practitioner, what are the implications to governance?
First and foremost, I don't want us to look at this particular scenario as one that is unprecedented. And I want to differ a little from the Honorable Komakechi. It is not true that these committees have lived up to the constitutional time frame set out of 6 months.
That's right.
That is one. I'll take you to the days of Honorable Ekanya as chairperson of PAC in 2000. And back then, Honorable Ekanya presented only one report. That was the report of 2000 to 2001, and left in draft 4 other reports. That is 2001, 2002, 2003, and 2004. When the Honorable Kantuntu came into office as chairperson of PAC, the Honorable Kantuntu had now to go back onto the backlog of the Honorable Ekanya. And Honorable Ekanya, rather Kantuntu, also now presented the reports, these 4 reports in draft, and he also left 4 other reports. That is 2005, 6, his land audit report he had carried out on Kampala City Council back then, and the market and the report on the markets in Kawempe, in Kawempe, and he also left them in draft. So when Honorable Sabiti came into office, he did not look back to what Honorable Kantuntu had left in draft. So it means that was a very big gap, loophole. It means the issues that had been identified by the Honorable Kantuntu were not addressed. And the purpose as to why our colleagues in Parliament or our friends in Parliament are actually carrying out scrutinizing, the term scrutinizing, examining. It is to examine and look with a little bit inside more. And on top. Yeah. With look a clear eye. Yeah. Because most of the guys, most of the chairs of these committees are first and foremost not professional auditors. But they have support.
That's not true.
There we are. Okay, you'll shed light on it.
They have support staff.
Yes.
Technical personnels that sit on these committees, like the legal personnels and etc. As the structure is laid down in the rules of procedure. But you realize, number one, that's where I want to differ from him. There is inefficiency. Out of 107, the Speaker says they belong to PAC and COSASE. They're supposed to be carried out or to be examined by these 2 committees. The inefficiency comes in that 107 is a very big...
It's a very big...
log for one to examine. It simply means that actually they are going to sit down and say that, hey, I have to actually look at Uganda Airlines, I'll look at UNRWA, then I'll look at this and this and this. So if the Speaker is not happy with the report, it means she will say, don't present that.
Don't present that one.
And we are protecting corruption somewhere in the cycle, trying to beat the cycle, because Omnibus is putting everything into one vehicle.
Just for the layman out there, Omnibus sounds exactly the way it is. An omnibus, taxi, Kayola, put people in there, go wherever you want to go. Instead of, for example, saying, hey, Chris, take your own car, have your time, sit, and then, you know. Anyway, that is on the outside. Just complete that point.
Yeah, so as I conclude is, actually, it would be so appropriate if actually, for example, the rules say that every committee, and the reason why we are referring so much onto the rules and not to the Constitution is simply because the rules is actually practicalizing or putting into practice the articles of the Constitution.
That's right.
What the people desired. What was debated in the Constituent Assembly by the Odoki Committee. So these rules say that the structure of a committee is not below 15 members or more than 35 members. So it simply means that 35 members are actually looking at one case. If we put actually 35 plus 35, you are actually going to arrive at 70. So 107 divided by 70 is equivalent to 15.
Oh my God.
15 cases. If we said, okay, let us divide these 70 members, 35 in COSASE, 35 in PAC, and actually have these 107 cases divided amongst all these members. It simply means each subcommittee created will have to look at least, or at most actually, 15 cases.
Quickly, let's return to the Member of Parliament. Of course, he is one of the individuals in the eye of the storm as you prepare something of a benchmark on how omnibuses are conducted. Omnibus bill introduction is conducted elsewhere, especially in the UK system that we seem to follow very closely. I've heard of stories in the United States, but that is a totally different story. Honourable, is there an attempt to sidestep a critical role that legislators are supposed to be performing when it comes to unearthing some of the grand schemes of corruption in the country?
There is no such an issue like an attempt. It is not there. what my colleague just said, allow me to read the Constitution. Just one of the clause.
There you go.
Yeah. Article 163, subsection 5. Parliament shall, within 6 months, shall is the key word, within 6 months, not later than that, after the submission of the report referred to in clause 4, this article shall be debated, consider the report, and take appropriate action. So when you talk of years, I don't understand where this is coming from.
Has appropriate action been taken?
Appropriate action is what is going to be taken now by the omnibus report. Now, what you don't get with the omnibus motion is the omnibus motion is they are going to present this same report. Let me give a practical instance. These reports are going to be sent on our iPads to members of parliament. Every member of parliament, we have 520 more members of parliament to go through them, and then an opportune time will be provided for debate. A report is preceded by debate, meaning the same members who are in the committee of PAC, COSASI, will be on the floor of parliament that day. They will have to debate. I will have to debate.
What will the quality of debate be when you are trying to beat time on so many aspects of legislation, with each requiring a lot more time than given the entire PAC?
But the quality will not be hampered with. Look at the nature of the debate we are going to have. When every member is presented with the report at that particular moment. When you are presented with the report, then you go through it and then present it on the floor of parliament. And
gentlemen, let's imagine a report is 15 pages.
15 pages.
And the Omnibus Bill has at least 15 reports. 15 pages of text to an average member of parliament, I don't want to even get there, cannot be fast-tracked in terms of reading and internalized for you to be able to debate from a point of knowledge on what exactly is going to be. That means the debate or what you're going to talk about might even miss what you didn't internalize. Now, and there is the problem.
Well, now, one of the points is I brought you first. The Auditor General is an officer of parliament. You should first know that.
That is the technical aspect.
It's
the
legitimacy
here.
Now, when it comes on, before we go into the report, I want you to present me a report presented by the Auditor General that has been deferred by Parliament. It isn't there on the record. It isn't there.
I'll research on that.
Do the research. It is not there. Now, if the Speaker comes up and say, we have a lot to do. We are in the time of budget framework. We don't have the time. Why can't we sit all together? Of lately, members of parliament have been leaving parliament at midnight, not having lunch because of time frame.
We pay
why
enough to miss lunch.
we are burning the midnight candle. Why can't we get all these reports together, sit and deliberate accurately on them? We are not saying that they are going to be approved. No. You are in assumption that all the reports that are going to be laid are just going to be passed. No, some are going to be deferred. Some are going to.
Please help us.
I wanted to come in earlier on.
Help us there.
I wanted to come in earlier on when my colleague was actually submitting here. One is what the actually Constitution means by appropriate action. I'll refer you to the case of Commonwealth versus Barnett, where the courts actually define what appropriate action is. We have actually organs of government that actually work hand in hand with the Auditor General and these particular committees, that these reports at the end of the day are supposed to cause appropriate action. That is the IGG, DPP, and the Uganda Police Force, to bring appropriate action. And according to the wording and an interpretation of appropriate action in the Constitution is actually prosecution. That is, if at all an issue has been identified as being criminal, what happens with omnibus procedure of handling reports? One is, remember in committees, why actually they have delayed to produce reports before Parliament, and the pile has actually grown, is one, they are looking at reports close to close. Wording,
which is
they actually have technical people that help them even interpret, look for meaning in the dictionary, And they are paid for that.
That's right.
On the taxpayers' money. Yeah? But here we are, Omnibus. Most of the reports have not gone through this stringent. I do not want us to take the word examine, which is the wording of the law, lightly. Examining meaning you're looking in and on top. But here we are, Parliament is sitting to look at a pile of laws. We have seen members of Parliament sleep on light on light motions that are being debated in
that's
Parliament.
so true.
But don't you air them on television?
Okay.
That's so true.
Honorable
Not the 11th Parliament. Not the 11th Parliament. 11th Parliament is full of young, energetic. There's no way you're going to tell.
All right, let him
So
submit.
actually, as I advance my point,
Yeah,
is,
please do.
I'm actually take matters lightly. At a certain point, the Honorable Tayewa is saying, where are members of Parliament? We are actually going to start punishing members who miss sessions of Parliament. What will happen if a member of Parliament is actually going to be bored by a pile of reports? They have not actually had an opportunity.
They don't have
to scrutinize.
Okay.
It simply means rejection of
Honorable Komakech, you're
We
young.
are discussing an assumption.
No, not assumption. We have seen this.
In assumption, we are
Because
assuming.
if we were actually in a certain kind of discussion of actually things that we have not seen happen, I would actually agree not any further with Honorable Komakech that there are assumptions. But we watch this on news every day.
On a daily basis.
On a daily
We see
basis.
it.
If NTV Live at 9 airs this. And coming back here, actually, as I conclude my point,
Please do.
as I conclude my point, it actually means, first and foremost, we are going to have controversial reports covered up. We know some of our members of Parliament, they are not actually so, for lack of a better word, I use a qualifier, for lack of a better word. No, sigenda kuba no. But for lack of a better word, some of our members of Parliament are not, let me say, well educated.
I think
some struggle. Listen, I'm concluding my point. Some struggle.
Wrap it up.
Hold it. Yeah, I'm wrapping up.
Wrap it up.
Some struggle with actually mere reading and speaking. Yeah, but here we are with controversial reports that are going to be wrapped up into a pile. So the big question, actually, the space that is going to be created for rejection of these controversial reports is actually going to be minimal.
Inevitably, Honorable Komakech, Mr. Nabiyanda has hit a little bit hard. Can you submit to that? Some members of Parliament have a bit of trouble when it comes to articulating what they have internalized, and that causes a bit of mistrust on the part of the...
I think we should appreciate members who are elected by the people they represent. To be real, in that Parliament, everyone is educated.
All right, that's a debate for another day. On the conduct of the Omnibus bill and everything that goes into that, it creates a backlog in trying to solve a backlog problem. I hope you understand.
But Chris, do you appreciate that a member of Parliament has various statutory obligations?
Of course.
Yeah?
I know.
Oversight roles, legislation, and all this is seated on members of Parliament.
Yeah.
Supposed to do this.
In other words, you're saying there's a lot
there's work to be done. There's a lot to be done. And when we say, should we let the bus stall or should we let the bus roll on? Because a precedent was set.
How the bus is rolling is important.
How the bus is rolling is very important. And we are saying the driver is in control.
All right. I've been told Joel Senyonyi is with us. Stephen Mbide, a very good morning. You are on the ground and you have the man who is in the eye of the storm. A very good morning.
Yes, good morning to you, Chris. Again, indeed, he is the man in the heat of the storm, and that was at least going by what we saw in Parliament. Joel Senyonyi, the Honourable Member of Parliament for Nakawa West, is also the chairperson of the Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises. From September last year, when you concluded the report, or rather the investigations into the Auditor General's report, up to now, we haven't seen the report tabled on the floor of Parliament, but still we see the exchange of words between you and your leader in Parliament. I'm talking about the Speaker. This is unpalatable language, and this is not for someone who sent you in Parliament, as members of Parliament, you would expect at least value for money, and this is what we were trying to find out. What is exactly happening or happened on the floor of Parliament that is stopping you from tabling the report?
Stephen, from the time we began inquiring into Uganda Airlines, I could clearly see this was going to be a long battle. The interests were very many. Those who seemed vested in this particular inquiry were so many and powerful, okay? Hence even the threats that I got along the way and so on. Usually that's the case for many of these entities. There's some pushing back and forth and so on, but this was different. This was unique. You hit the ground running, and then there's all manner of noise, all manner of fights from all manner of powerful offices. But I said that we are not going to back down, because that's what, at least for me, the people of Nakawa West sent me to Parliament to do. So we go on with the investigation. Along the way, I could clearly see the Speaker trying to frustrate us. I don't understand why. Anyhow, we go on and get the report ready. We hand it over to her office and to the clerk's office. It was uploaded on a system which is accessed by over 500 members. And then told Madam, the report is ready. Can we have it on the order paper, as is usually the case? Anyway, with every...
Does that mean that the report was not leaked by the COSASE members or even the chairperson or the clerk?
It could have been leaked by the Speaker or even people in her office. Because who was the first recipient of this report? It was the Speaker. We handed it over to her office and then to the clerk's office. And then it was uploaded on, we have a system in Parliament, an IT system, where once the report is ready and it's been put on the order paper, it is uploaded on a system where all members can access it. So it could have been anybody, including even the Speaker or at least her office, because she was the first recipient of this report. And that's why when she said she was going to investigate a leakage, I knew there was not going to be any investigation, because who was she going to investigate? And up to now, there's been no investigation. It was a bluff, okay? And then, as we are fighting to get onto the order paper, we see pictures of the Speaker meeting Bamuturaki Jennifer, who we were investigating.
Was that criminal?
It is not a crime for the Speaker to meet anybody in this country, whether they are powerful, whether it is a market vendor. It is her right as a leader or even as a Ugandan citizen. But what worried me is you are denying us audience on the order paper, but you are meeting the person who we indicted in that report for corruption, misappropriation of funds and all of that. What signal do you send to people?
But before Jennifer Bamutrachi met the Speaker, you had also met the Speaker before, also the leader of opposition, but still, let me take it to you. You had also met her. What exactly transpired between you and her during that meeting?
The Speaker invited me to her office several times, and each of those times she was telling me, I'm still studying your report, I'll give you feedback. I'm still studying the report, I'll give you feedback. And then I asked her, but Madam, you've had this report for quite a bit of time. What exactly are you studying about it? It's a small report, you know, it's not a very lengthy report, about 30 pages. What are you studying about it for over 30 months? She say, I'll give you feedback, you know. But clearly looked like the Speaker was interested in fighting this report from the word go. And now yesterday, she made a ridiculous ruling, in my view, saying, you see, because this report leaked, that is why we are not going to have it. I said, but one, who gives you those powers as Speaker? You're the Speaker of Parliament, but you are not Parliament. You don't decide for Parliament. When a committee report is ready, it is supposed to be tabled, and then Parliament is the one that can accept it or reject it. Not you, the Speaker. She does not have those powers. That's why she didn't cite any rule, okay, to say that, you see, when a report leaks, then it gets to be rejected. Because what that now is, she has set a very preposterous precedent, in my view. That when there are any mafias who are not interested in a particular report being tabled, they can make sure it leaks, and then it doesn't.
But would you admit, as the chairperson of COSASE, that yes, maybe we may not have been a little bit lazy, but maybe you were slow in implementing or even carrying out the work? Maybe you would admit that. Maybe you were a little bit slow.
That's actually not true. You see, the way these inquiries operate and work, if you're to properly inquire into an entity, you need the minimum of about a month. Now, in a month, we meet 12 times because according to Parliament's ways of operating, we meet 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that 3 days a week, 12 days a month. So for you to properly inquire into an entity, you need a minimum of a month to be able to do this work, yeah? And yes, when the Auditor General audits the over 100 entities, it is not a must that we have got to audit each one of them. No, it's not even possible, because in a year, if you're to follow those 12 days a month, you have about 144 days. And I've not even subtracted recess. All the time we are in recess, go check on PDM. Now it's only sectoral committees that are meeting, standing committees are on hold. So you have a minimum of about maybe 90 days, an entire year, to be able to inquire, all right? And so you pick out entities which are very problematic, which have huge chunks of money and question marks and so on. Those are the ones that you go for. So by the way, for us to produce 5 reports of 5 entities in a period of about a year, I would like to salute my committee. Rarely does it happen. The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, she was in charge of COSASE. For over 6 months, they inquired into one entity and did one report, Bank of Uganda. One like this. So if me, who has done 5 reports, 5 entities in 1 year, you're comparing me to you, who did one in 6 months. You're the one who is lazy.
This committee that has members, over 40 of them, is supposed to, according to the Speaker, is going to go under investigation and an audit. Does this scare you as the chairperson? Because, yes, I know there are some people who are saying they have evidence of corruption, though they couldn't table it there and then on the floor of Parliament yesterday, but as they say, they have evidence.
Then you bring it. You bring it.
Are you afraid about?
Not at all. Let me tell you, by the way, what the Speaker said is a bluff. There's no investigation that will happen. The same thing she talked about, the report saying it leaked, I'm going to investigate. It was a bluff. So she's saying this to try and make the public think we are not operating the right way or that kind of thing. There's no inquiry going to happen. But even if it does, I do not have a problem with that at the end of the day, yeah? But my point is, the Speaker should stop frustrating committee work. For heaven's sake, why is the Speaker so vested in this Uganda Airlines report? What interest does she have in it? For her to make a ridiculous ruling which is not hinged on any law. That you see, this report leaked, and that is why we are not going to have it. What if it was leaked by her? So that eventually she says, now that it leaked, we are not going to have this report. Because the first person who received this report was the Speaker of Parliament. So it could even have been leaked by her.
Honorable Senyonyi, I get a feeling that all hope is not lost. If you are investigating misappropriation, the fire and hire process and everything that you were investigating, we know that already the Auditor General has already cited some of these. For example, the 164.5 billion shillings that were lost in this airline, national carrier. I feel that this is evidence enough that can be used against some of these persons.
Of course, that's why for me and my committee, we have done our job. Okay, we exposed the rot, Ugandans saw all the rot, all the filth, the misappropriation, the corruption in Uganda Airlines. Okay, now it is the Speaker who is trying to cover up for that. So Ugandans will judge for themselves who has tried to do their job.
This shouldn't worry you whether the report is stable or not, because already the Auditor General has already made the recommendation that some of the findings he found. I think these are already evidence enough. Shouldn't worry you that the report is not tabled.
No, of course, my point is that the process has got to be completed, yeah, because this is a committee report, it's got to be tabled in Parliament, then Parliament debates it. If there are any issues, because I'm not even saying we are perfect people or that kind of thing, you know, but if there are any issues or anyone doesn't want any particular element in the report, on the floor of Parliament it can be amended before it is passed. But the Speaker is saying no to that. I don't know, maybe the Speaker just has something personal against Joel Senyonyi. I need to inform the Speaker of Parliament if she does not know. This is not a report of Joel Senyonyi. This is a report of a committee. By the way, my committee has over 70% NRM members. And these members signed the report. But she's trying to make it seem like this is a Joel Senyonyi affair.
Friend, because your friend.
I'm not a friend. I don't know where she gets that drama from. You know, she's only my leader, my Speaker. You know, she is not my friend. That legalese, that, you know, that leisure talk of, you see, Joel is even my friend and so on. I'm not your friend. I'm your fellow leader. Do what is right, Madam Speaker.
You know what happened yesterday on the floor of Parliament, and even what you did, the exchanges that we saw on your social handles, your Senyonyi and also the Speaker of Parliament, and even what you're saying now could also lead you the same way we saw her directing Honorable Francis Zake to the rules and privileges and disciplinary committee, that also made us so Zake losing his job of a commission of Parliament. It could also be the same way you could also land you into that committee.
Who cares if that gets to happen? For heaven's sake, I'm not meant to be COSASE chairperson forever, okay? So if the Speaker, and as I have seen, anyone that stands up against her and says, no, this is wrong and so on, she sends them to the disciplinary committee, tries to censure them and all of that, I am ready. I do not have a problem with that. But I will call A, I will call B, I'm going to call a spade a spade. I think that the Speaker...
Not afraid?
Not at all. Why should I be afraid? What am I afraid of? There is nothing for me to be afraid of. Let her do whatever she has to do, but I'm telling her the way she's running our institution is problematic.
For someone who didn't see the leaked report and would like to know what is contained in the report, give us at least 5 of the recommendations that you saw or findings that you found in your investigations.
Actually, you see, our inquiry was open. The media always covered it. So you always saw everything that you saw.
In the report, the final report you made, at least 5.
That's the point I'm making, that you see, everything that you saw in the media is exactly what is in this report. You were with us when we were covering this, about the misappropriation. All of those things you saw, you know, contracts being given by Bamutraki to her boyfriend, you know, without following procurement regulations and so on. All of that you guys in the media covered because it was before you. That she gets money from the entity to travel to 5 different countries and she doesn't.
What I mean, do you want her fired or something like that?
There must be, you see, for anyone who saw, you don't even have to wait to see what Kosase has said on this matter. For everyone that saw the thuggery there is in Uganda Airlines. Even that border rider there will tell you that, no, we need an overhaul. First of all, she was not even hired the right way. It was backdoor. So you hired backdoor and you're misappropriating funds, corruption and all of that confusion. Even that market vendor, you know, can tell you that, you know what? No. Okay. There's need for a clean-up in Uganda Airlines.
Thank you so much, Honorable Senyonyi. In your final words, looking to that camera, how do you want the Uganda Airlines to be run? Because this is a public entity that is also where a lot of money, public taxpayers' money is being invested in, and we want to see the airline working for Ugandans and for the economy.
By the way, there are people who think that some of us are against Uganda Airlines. No. By the way, I've flown Uganda Airlines maybe thrice now, okay? And most of the time it is personal trips. And I say, but let me support my airline, you know? I'm going on a private visit, let me use Uganda Airlines because I want it to work. We want it to work. For heaven's sake, we want our country to work. When we make noise about some of these things, we want our country to function, we want our entities to function because the taxpayer is injecting a lot of money in these entities, you know? So for Uganda Airlines to function the right way, one, the law has got to be followed. People have got to be hired the right way. Competent people, by the way. Those that don't do their job, they need to be showed the exit. For heaven's sake, we discovered the commercial director of Uganda Airlines was a senior 6 leaver, has senior 6 qualifications. That is a commercial director of the national airlines. And no wonder people are trying to sit on this report. But for us, our pledge is that we'll keep exposing the rot there is. Ugandans will know. Even if the powers that be, like the Speaker using her office, can decide, let me sit on a report illegally. I don't know whether you call it battle lines or whatever, but me, I'm speaking on behalf of my committee, which did work. We signed the report. That report was not signed by only Joel Senyonyi. Okay. Majority of those who signed were actually NRM members because we got all the facts together.
Thank you so much, the Member of Parliament for Nakawa West, also the spokesperson of National Unity Platform, but also he is the chairperson of the Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises, Honorable Joel Senyonyi Besekezi. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Back to you, Chris, again in the studios.
Who I'm going to have to Besekezi. Interesting there. I hadn't known the other name, but no doubt. Many thanks, Stephen Mbide, for bringing us up to speed with the Honourable Member of Parliament's sentiments with regard to the controversies that have him pitted against the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Anita Among. Gentlemen in the studio, Aru South County MP Christopher Komakech, as well as lawyer John Solomon Nabiyanda. Your wrap on that, you've listened to the Member of Parliament appearing to be very much in his stead when it comes to the nature of work. However, there's a lot that comes out of what he says. Just give me your view on it, and then we quickly wrap this up. First, Honourable.
Thank you so much, Chris. What I get from all this the discussion is a parent trying to pat on the child, hey, I need you to speed up your game, and the child going into defense. What the Right Honourable Speaker is doing is putting pressure not only on Honourable Senyonyi, on all the chairpersons, I mean Foreign Affairs Committee, and the pressure my chairperson is on is way more than what Honourable Senyonyi is on. So I look at it as a speaker who wants to perform. No, we are the 11th Parliament, Parliament of the people. and we want to work for the people. Okay. The only way we can show that is by working for them. You look at the reports, the bills that we have passed, really, I don't see anything wrong with that. I can only assure Ugandans that 11th Parliament will do whatever it takes to make sure the taxpayers' money is not mishandled.
Mr. Nabiyanda, you're up.
First and foremost, I'll conclude by saying it is very wrong for the Speaker, the Right Honourable Anita Among, to say it is a shame upon the Chair or the Leader of Opposition in Parliament. It's a shame on Anita Among as Speaker of Parliament, and that actually they have failed to actually examine these reports on time, and actually the role of Parliament or the function of Parliament of causing accountability is going to be undermined. And I'll actually wrap it up by actually proposing that maybe instead of having an omnibus view or look at all these reports, let us have subcommittees created out of these, and actually we have 107 reports looked at analytically. And I'll also say, as I finish, that first and foremost, accountability is one of the most important aspects of governance, good governance. It's because it's out of accountability that we see things like transparency and truth.
Gentlemen, many thanks. Let's now have the Speaker of the 11th Parliament, Right Honourable Anita Among, have her say.
For the 2 years we've been in this seat, we've not got any information of corruption from any chairperson, be it opposition or ruling government. The chairpersons are not corrupt, but some are lazy. By the way, when you look at me talking about, Joel is my very good friend. But I am saying, Joel, you've not done what I expected of you. You've been a little lazy. Out of 100, and me, I'm speaking from facts. I have reports that have been laid on table. Out of 211 reports, I have 107 pending. What are we doing? That is an indictment to the institution of Parliament.
We shall leave it to friends. Sort it out. It's been a pleasure having your company. Let's go for a break. Priscilla Regina Naloga shall be at hand with a discussion on improving the healthcare systems in the country with investments. Stay with us.